Bonjour from Paris. So you're coming to Paris and you've heard the city will be super expensive. Well, Paris can actually be really affordable, which is why I really hate seeing tourists overpaying for things. You just need insider knowledge. I'm Lynn and I've been living in Paris for almost 7 years now. And through a good deal of trial and error, I've figured out the best ways to hold on to mon argent, which means money in French, instead of it going towards overpriced items. In this video, I'm going to tell you about 5 things we see tourists always overpaying for in Paris and how you can steer clear of this and save yourself a lot of money. On y va, let's go! I can imagine that most of you are hoping to devour plenty of amazing food while you're in Paris. You'll see tons of charming looking cafes and restaurants around the city, but not all of them are actually good. And to be completely honest, this is especially true for restaurants near major tourist attractions like the Eiffel Tower, Arc de Triomphe, Notre Dame, and Sacré-Cœur. They overcharge you for crappy food when you're tired after over sightseeing. I totally get it. I don't like being hungry either. You really don't want to see that. But there are ways you can avoid ending up at tourist traps that are cher, which means expensive in French, and instead find restaurants that are pas cher or économique. Yep, you guessed it, that means cheap. There are good restaurants around top sites, but these tend to be hidden on smaller side streets a few blocks away. You can track them down by doing a little research on Google and filtering for 4 stars or above. But honestly, we recommend you doing your research in advance of your trip and not while you're shivering beneath an umbrella in the rain on a noisy Parisian street. That way you can make sure you have a table at the best places in the city. If you'd like to know our favorite places to eat in Paris, watch some of our short videos you'll find on our social channels, or check out the articles on the Love in Paris website, which you can get to by following the link below. 3 tips for you now. Our bakeries and boulangeries are sacred in Paris. And when I say sacred, like I mean it. There's around 1,300 of them here. 1,300, do you know how much this is? It's more than 1,299 bakeries. But boulangeries here in France aren't simply for breakfast, pastries, and bread. There are also go-to places for a quick and economic lunch. So when you enter a bakery, scan the signs listing what it sells for the word formule. So this is a great value lunch that all boulangeries offers, and you can get a sandwich, a salad or quiche, a dessert, and a drink, all for 8 to 10 euros. So that's like good money for your lunch. So how do you find a good boulangerie? France has all kinds of awards for bakers, and these winners usually advertise this on their front windows. The most famous is the Meilleure Baguette de Tradition de Paris, an annual contest for the best traditional baguette in the city. Even without much French, if you see the word meilleur, which means the best, like Meilleur Ouvrier de France, another prestigious award, this is a very good sign that this particular boulangerie is above average. So we came to this boulangerie because it won the Meilleure Baguette, the best baguette of the year, and they don't even have any stickers on the glass. They're so modest. That's so nice of them. Like they don't put it anywhere, but usually they have stickers on the wall saying like, oh, best baguette, meilleure baguette, or meilleur artisan de Paris. Not as modest as the other boulangerie, but congrats. I would have, if I won Premier Prix, I would have put it on my glass. So tip number 2, similar to boulangeries, many restaurants offer like fixed price formule. These are usually only available at lunch breaks and occasionally find them at dinners too. So some restaurants only have one choice for their formule, but others allow you to choose between a few options and either a starter and a main and dessert, or all 3 together for a slightly higher price. Now you might be lucky and come across a formule that also throws in a free glass of wine or an after-meal espresso. If you have your heart set on trying a Michelin star restaurant during your stay in Paris, most have lunch formule that are always much cheaper than their dinner menu. So opting for lunch can lead to massive savings, more argent you can use to buy pastries across amazing boulangeries. Tip number 3, whether it's for lunch or dinner, if you're looking for a pas cher meal in Paris, we recommend you going to a bouillon. A what? Don't worry, you won't have to pronounce it. Bouillon means soup broth in French, which was the original specialty of, you know, the cheap restaurants when they started popping up around Paris in the 1800s. But don't worry, Now, their menus have expanded and you won't be stuck eating just soup. But who doesn't love a hearty soup à l'oignon, a gooey French and onion soup? Oh la la. Bouillon have been experiencing a bit of revival in recent years, and there are around a dozen in Paris serving traditional French food at affordable prices. If you love museums and want to do a lot of them in Paris, the ticket prices will really add up. But there are ways you can get reduced or even free museum entrance. Let's go through them. 1. Be young. So if you're an EU national under 26 years old or have kids 17 and under in your group, most of Paris' famous museums will be completely free or gratuit in French. You just have to bring your ID, as ticket attendants may ask to see it, and in some cases, like the Louvre, you still need to reserve your free ticket via the website. 2. Get the Paris Pass or the Paris Museum Pass. You can save a lot of money with this, but you have to visit like 2 or 3 museums for it to be worth it. So you really have to be like a museum lover. The Paris Pass is more expensive, but it includes tours, monuments, and more stuff. 3. Plan your trip dates carefully. If you can plan your travel dates around the first Sunday of the month, a whole bunch of national museums and monuments, such as the Musée d'Orsay, the Musée Picasso, and the Orangerie are free for all. Museums do tend to be busier on these days, but if you're looking to reduce cost, this can really help. Versailles is free the first Sunday of the month, only from November to March, but as it's one of the most expensive attractions in and around Paris, costing up to 32 euros per ticket. Depending on the type of ticket you get, if you can travel off-season, it can save you a bunch. The Louvre is a bit different from the others and is free from 6 to 9 p.m. on the first Friday of the month, except July and August. This time frame is actually the best time to visit the Louvre because it's much less crowded than during the day. 4. Visit the free museums. If you can't adjust your travel dates, Paris has a bunch of free museums managed by the city of Paris, and the list includes some pretty cool places. Some of our favorites are the Musée Carnavalet, the Museum of the History of Paris found in the Marais, the Petit Palais, which is like a mini Louvre and Orsay combined together, and has an amazing courtyard, cafe, and the former houses of the writers Victor Hugo and Balzac, which you might have seen on our videos on local tips. And la cerise sur le gâteau, the cherry on the cake, these museums are much less busy than the more famous museums, but if you still have your heart set on the Louvre or Orsay, be sure to buy tickets online in advance so you won't waste time waiting in line, or book a tour, which will include your entrance ticket. Just head over to the Love in Paris website to find a whole bunch of amazing tour suggestions. By the way, if it's your first time visiting, I know how overwhelming it can be to make sure you've booked and done everything you need to before you get here. That's why we made a Paris trip checklist. It has everything you need to do, buy and book before your upcoming trip. To get that for free, click in the link in the description. Back to the video. There are plenty of opportunities in Paris for free water, which is all in French.
One of the easiest ways you can save money in Paris is by not buying bottled water. We have to admit we cringe a little tiny bit when we see tourists walking around with giant bottles of water or paying for water at restaurants. Bottled water, especially in plastic bottles, is bad for the environment, costly, and completely avoidable.
The city has these cool public fountains called Wallace Fountains after the British aristocrat Sir Richard Wallace, who donated them to the city in the 1870s. You'll generally find them in squares, and if the water isn't running down the middle, look for a small metal button just below the rim of the open area. It looks like this. Some of these buttons are a bit tricky to activate, so you might have to push it really hard to get the water running. You don't have to worry about the quality of the water. It doesn't come from the River Seine, which would be totally gross. Most of us Parisians would never swim in the Seine, like the city's mayor trying to encourage, let alone drink water from it. Instead, the water from Wallace Fountain is actually piped in from water springs outside the city, so it's kinda like free Evian. You may also see modern water fountains, which look like this and are usually found in larger parks. Some of them have 2 options, still or sparkling water. So don't forget to bring your reusable water bottle with you to Paris. Regular Parisians tap water is actually pretty good and totally safe to drink. To get some for free in Paris restaurants, simply ask for une carafe d'eau, a pitcher of water. Once some Parisian waiters hear you speaking in English, or other foreign languages, they might come out with the line, still or sparkling. This is a sneaky attempt to make you order an overpriced bottle. If this happens, all you need to do is repeat, une carafe d'eau s'il vous plaît, tap water please. So another way you can save a lot of money on your Paris trip is by saving up on your accommodation. Now, some tourists might think that they need to find accommodation in like what they consider to be safe parts of Paris, like touristy areas, like the Champs-Élysées or the Louvre. But in fact, you know, these places are filled with shops and restaurants, and like Parisians wouldn't actually stay there. I know I wouldn't. So in general, Paris is a pretty safe city, I would say. But if you want to stay in a safe neighborhood that is also like a local and cheap place, I recommend you going to the 11th or the Latin Quartier and Le Pelletier, which is an area in the 10th district. It's between South Pigalle and Grand Boulevard. And we do have a whole video on our favorite areas to stay in Paris, so watch that after this one. The Love in Paris website has some great articles on hotels, including in these safe areas. But if you're looking on like an accommodation website like booking.com or Expedia, you can get a better sense of like the area safety level by reading the hotel's reviews, and any red flags would have been mentioned by past guests. Finally, transportation. We tend to see so many tourists paying for so many Ubers and taxis, spending a ton of money on that, underestimating how useful it could be to use public transportation. Like the metro is so useful, so you can save a ton of money while taking the metro. Or you can just walk. Paris is a great walking city, so you can just go from a place to another just by walking, or if not, just use the public transportation. The Paris transit system, called RATP or Île-de-France Mobilité, is cheap and generally safe. It's faster than traveling by car because of the traffic. And also, while there are trams and buses around the city, people usually use the metro. And here we call it the metro and not the subway or anything else. A one-way ticket is already affordable. It's for €2.15. But if you think you're gonna go more than 10 aller-retour, which means going back and coming back, then you can buy the carnet, which is 10 tickets. It will cost you per ticket €1.73. So you will save up, like for every 10 tickets you buy, you'll save up €4. So that's a lot of money. These carnets are available to put on a reusable card. So it's called the Navigo Easy card. You buy it for €2 and then you put on the 10 tickets. You'll save a lot of money. Or virtually, like you can buy your tickets on the app IDF Mobilité, and yeah, you buy them super easy. The app is in English. Perfect. If you're staying a little further from the center or think you'll be taking public transportation 5 or more times per day, which is really a lot here, you might want to buy a multi-day or week-long pass. This makes even more sense if you plan on using public transport to get into the city from Charles de Gaulle or Orly Airport. As a separate ticket, this costs between €11.8 and €14.50 one way. And so when this is folded into the cost of a pass, you'll save money. We go into all this in full detail in articles taking public transportation on the Love in Paris website, so be sure to check those out too. Now, we hope you found this video useful and that it will help you avoid being overcharged on your trip to Paris. If it's your first time visiting, don't forget to get your Paris trip checklist or Paris 101 guide, both of which you can download on our website and for free. À la prochaine, les amis!